Emotional distance is one of the most misunderstood behaviors in human relationships. When someone suddenly becomes cold, withdrawn, or unavailable, the first instinct most people have is to take it personally. You start questioning your worth, wondering if you did something wrong, if they lost interest, or if you've somehow become less valuable in their eyes. But the truth is far more complex, and often much deeper. Emotional distance isn't always a sign of disinterest. In many cases, it's the complete opposite. It's a sign of inner conflict, fear, vulnerability, and an overwhelming flood of emotions that the person doesn't know how to handle. Emotional distance often hides emotional chaos. When a person, especially a man, feels something that shakes his sense of control, his first instinct is to retreat. He's been taught to stay composed, to avoid appearing weak, to keep his emotions in check. Love, attachment, or deep emotional connection disrupts that equilibrium. Suddenly, he's thinking about someone constantly. He finds himself caring too much, missing you, imagining scenarios of what could go wrong, and that terrifies him. So, instead of expressing what he feels, he hides behind silence. He convinces himself that detachment equals strength. But deep down, he's at war with himself, caught between the comfort of control and the chaos of feeling something real. This is where emotional chaos begins. Imagine trying to suppress a storm. You can try to act calm on the surface, but the wind still howls inside. That's what emotional distance looks like from the inside. He tries to keep his world neat and predictable, but your presence shattered his patterns. You awakened something in him that he thought he could handle, but couldn't. You made him feel vulnerable, and vulnerability feels like danger to someone who's used to guarding their emotion. So he steps back, not because you don't matter, but because you matter too much. The distance becomes his defense mechanism, a way to regain the illusion of control. The irony is that the more he pulls away to feel safe, the more emotionally chaotic he becomes. He starts replaying memories, overanalyzing conversations, and wondering why he can't just move on. He tells himself he's fine, but his silence betrays him. He's not indifferent, he's overwhelmed. He doesn't ghost because he stopped caring. He ghosts because he cares too much and doesn't know what to do with those feelings. The chaos inside him grows louder the longer he tries to suppress it. Every reminder of you becomes both comfort and torture. He may act cold, but in truth, he's burning from within. For you, the person on the receiving end of this distance, it can feel like rejection. It can feel like betrayal or emotional abandonment. You start questioning everything: his words, his intentions, his promises. But it's important to understand, sometimes his withdrawal isn't about you. It's about him fighting himself. It's about him trying to protect his ego, his peace, his identity. Emotional chaos is rarely visible, but it's there, messy, loud, and relentless. And if you look closely, you'll see the signs, the delayed replies, the forced indifference, the subtle tension in his voice. It's all part of his internal struggle to appear unaffected. The most powerful thing you can do when faced with emotional distance is to not chase it. Don't beg for attention. Don't try to force communication. Because when someone is drowning in their own emotional chaos, your chasing doesn't rescue them. It only pushes them deeper. The only thing that cuts through emotional chaos is stillness. When you stay grounded in your value, when you remain composed and confident, you create a mirror that reflects what they're missing. Your calm becomes their storm. Your absence becomes the loudest presence in their world. This doesn't mean you ignore them out of spite. It means you respect their space and protect your peace. You recognize that you can't fix what's inside them. That's their battle to fight. People often believe that closeness is built through constant interaction, but true connection is built through emotional depth. And sometimes the deepest connections are revealed in silence, when one person pulls away and the other refuses to crumble. Here's the deeper truth: emotional chaos is not a weakness, It's evidence of depth. It means someone has felt something powerful enough to disturb their emotional foundation. Most people never reach that level because they stay numb, guarded, and disconnected. But when emotional chaos hits, it means something real has happened. It means someone touched a nerve that logic couldn't suppress. That's not something to fear, it's something to understand. Emotional distance, therefore, is not always a wall, it's often a maze. It's the way a person tries to navigate through feelings they can't define. And while it hurts to be on the outside of that maze, it's crucial to remember that your worth isn't determined by someone else's confusion. You don't lose value because someone can't handle their emotions. Their chaos is a reflection of their depth, not your deficiency. The people who act distant are often the ones who feel the most. They just hide it better. They wear masks of strength to cover the trembling inside. They overcompensate with silence, hoping it will quiet their emotions. But it never does. The more they run from what they feel, the more those feelings chase them. And eventually they realize that distance doesn't erase connection. It amplifies it, because the mind forgets what's temporary, but the heart never forgets what's real. So if someone's acting distant, don't assume they've stopped caring. Sometimes that's exactly how you know they care the most. They're scared of losing control. They're scared of falling too deep. They're scared of being seen for who they truly are beneath the armor. And your presence, your energy, your authenticity, those are the things that terrify and attract them at the same time. Emotional chaos is the birthplace of growth. It forces people to confront what they've buried, to question who they are, and to decide what truly matters. When someone acts distant, they're not avoiding you. They're avoiding themselves. They're avoiding the parts of their heart that still haven't healed. And until they face that, no amount of chasing will bring them closer. The most powerful response to emotional distance is self-respect. You don't lower your energy to meet their fear. You elevate your energy to remind them of what real peace looks like. In time, emotional chaos either breaks a person or transforms them. Some people remain distant forever because they fear the vulnerability that love demands. Others eventually return, humbled, awakened, and ready to face what they once ran from. But regardless of the outcome, never lose your calm to someone else's storm. Because your composure, your quiet strength, and your understanding become the light in their chaos. Remember this, emotional distance often hides emotional chaos, and emotional chaos often hides love. The louder the silence, the deeper the feeling. The colder the tone, the warmer the memory. Some people act like they've moved on, but deep inside, they're still haunted by the connection they can't replace. You might not see it, but you can feel it. The invisible pull that keeps your souls intertwined. And in that unspoken tension lies the truth. Emotional distance isn't the end. It's the test before clarity. It's the storm before surrender. It's proof that what you shared was real enough to leave a mark. There is a rare kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't chase, and doesn't beg it waits. It observes. It understands. That strength is silence. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, to be seen, to get an instant response, silence becomes a weapon of power. When someone pulls away, most people panic. They text more, call more, explain more, hoping that the louder they get, the more they'll be noticed. But the truth is, power never comes from pursuit. It comes from composure. Power lies in silence, not pursuit. Silence is misunderstood because people associate it with weakness, indifference, or surrender. They think staying quiet means you've given up, that not reacting means you don't care. But silence isn't a lack of power, it's control over it. It's the ability to resist the urge to prove your worth. It's choosing peace over chaos, dignity over desperation. When you stop chasing validation, you reclaim the authority over your own energy. You stop handing the power of your emotions to someone else. Because every time you chase, you confirm to them that they hold the upper hand. But when you go silent, when you stop trying to convince, you force them to confront the emptiness your absence creates. There's a deep, unspoken impact that silence carries. It makes people think. It forces reflection. When you stop reaching out, stop explaining, stop reacting, it creates a vacuum. And the human mind cannot tolerate a vacuum. They begin to wonder what changed, what you're thinking, whether they've lost you. The person who was once confident in your attention suddenly starts questioning themselves. That's the invisible shift of power. Silence unsettles the ones who expected your noise in relationships, whether romantic, emotional, or even professional. Chasing someone or something never creates connection. It creates imbalance. The more you run towards someone, the faster they move away. That's the psychology of pursuit. When someone feels chased, they feel superior, they feel safe, they feel in control. But when you stop chasing, when you simply withdraw with quiet confidence, the dynamic changes. You're no longer reacting, you're observing. You're no longer desperate for their attention. You're deciding whether they deserve yours. True power doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt. When you walk away in silence instead of arguing, you communicate strength without saying a word. When you remain calm while others lose control, you dominate the energy of the room. Because silence isn't the absence of communication. It's a form of communication that only the emotionally mature can understand. It says, I know my worth. I don't need to prove it to you. Most people don't realize how loud silence can be. It echoes in the mind of the one who took your presence for granted. They replay conversations. They overthink the last words. They start imagining reasons why you're quiet. Silence makes them face themselves. It removes the distraction of your presence and leaves them with their own thoughts, guilt, and curiosity. That's why silence is powerful. It doesn't force clarity, it creates it. When you pursue someone too much, you lose yourself. You trade your peace for their approval. You make their response the center of your worth. But when you embrace silence, you shift that focus inward. You realize that your power doesn't come from being wanted. It comes from knowing you're enough, even when you're alone. The pursuit feeds their ego. The silence feeds your strength. And the one who remains silent becomes unforgettable, because silence lingers where words fade. Think about this. Every time you've pulled away from someone who expected you to chase, you've seen how quickly their attitude changes. The silence confuses them because it breaks the pattern. They were used to your energy, your effort, your words, and suddenly there's nothing. That nothingness becomes louder than any argument ever could. It makes them realize that your attention was never guaranteed, it was given, and once given, it could also be taken away. Silence also teaches patience. It's easy to react, to send a message in anger or fear, to demand answers, but it takes real strength to hold back, to trust that time will reveal what's true. When you stay silent, you give people the space to show their real intentions. Some will drift away, proving that your silence was protection. Others will return, realizing the value of your peace. Either way, you win because you've chosen power over panic. There's also beauty in how silence reveals truth. People who only wanted attention will fade when you stop giving it. People who genuinely care will feel the absence and reach back. Silence filters your life in ways that words never can. It separates the temporary from the true, the curious from the committed. It exposes who was drawn to your energy and who was drawn to your effort. In love, silence can be magnetic. When someone expects you to chase and you don't, it disrupts their emotional rhythm. They start missing you, not because of what you said, but because of what you stopped saying. Your silence becomes their reminder, their mirror, their unfinished conversation. It's the calm that exposes their chaos, and the longer you stay composed, the more powerful that silence becomes. Silence also gives you time to think. When you're not reacting, you can actually process. You can decide whether the situation deserves your energy or whether it's better left unanswered. Sometimes silence isn't about power over others, it's about power over yourself. It's about mastering the impulse to over-explain, to justify, to fight for understanding from people who aren't ready to understand. That's emotional discipline. That's where real confidence lives. The world today runs on noise, constant communication, endless scrolling, non-stop validation. Silence has become rare, almost uncomfortable, but that's why it's powerful. When you step back and go quiet, you stand out. You're not part of the noise, you're the pause that makes people listen. You become the mystery that curiosity can't ignore. You create space for others to feel your absence, and in that space, your presence grows stronger. Power in silence also comes from peace. When you're not constantly chasing or explaining, you preserve your energy. You stop pouring into people who drain you. You learn that sometimes no reaction is the best reaction because not every situation deserves your attention. Some people feed off your emotion. They need your reaction to feel relevant. Silence starves them of that. It keeps your energy sacred, your mind clear, your heart steady. And when you master silence, something incredible happens. You stop needing closure from others. You stop waiting for apologies, explanations, or validation. You learn to close chapters on your own. You realize that peace is more valuable than being right. You don't need to win arguments because silence already won. It speaks for itself. It shows that your emotions don't control you. You control them. The truth is, silence is the most powerful statement you can make in a world addicted to noise. It's the ultimate act of self-respect. You're not ignoring them to be cruel. You're protecting your energy. You're showing that not everything deserves access to your peace. You're proving that your attention is earned, not demanded. So when someone acts distant or plays games, don't chase. Go quiet. When life gets loud with drama and chaos, don't fight it. Detach. When people misunderstand you, don't explain endlessly. Let time speak, because power lies in silence, not pursuit. Silence is strength wrapped in peace, confidence dressed as calm, wisdom disguised as patience. It's the pause that commands attention without a word. And in a world where everyone is screaming for validation, the one who can stay silent becomes unforgettable. Here comes a moment in every connection, every relationship, every bond, when presence is taken for granted. When the messages once replied to instantly start getting delayed. When your efforts, once deeply appreciated, become expected. When the warmth you brought is met with indifference. It's in those moments that you start to realize the quiet truth of life. Your presence is temporary, but your absence can be eternal. Because your absence will echo louder than your presence ever did. When you're there for someone consistently, your energy becomes their comfort. They get used to your voice, your support, your patience. You become part of their daily rhythm. The message they wake up to, the person they vent to, the voice that steadies them when life gets hard. But the human mind, so easily distracted and endlessly hungry for novelty, tends to forget to appreciate what is constant. It begins to assume that what's always there will always remain, and that's where the slow erosion of gratitude begins. You become invisible not because you're less valuable, but because you've become familiar. People stop noticing the light until it's gone, but when you finally step back, when you decide to pull your energy away, everything shifts. At first, they might not notice. They might think you're just busy or distant, but slowly the silence grows heavy, the messages that used to light up their phones stop coming, the reassurance they counted on disappears. The energy you once poured into them, your laughter, your encouragement, your care, suddenly vanishes, and that's when the echo begins. The echo of your absence, the hollow space where your presence used to live, becomes deafening. It haunts their thoughts because they realize too late that what they had wasn't replaceable. See, presence is comfortable, but absence is powerful. When you're present, your energy fills the room, but when you're gone, your memory fills their mind. The void you leave becomes the proof of your value, because true impact is never recognized in noise. It's felt in silence. The heart begins to miss the things it once took for granted. The mind replays old conversations, trying to relive moments it dismissed too easily. That's how absence speaks. It doesn't need words. It works through emptiness. Your absence becomes a mirror that reflects their neglect. It forces them to confront how they treated you when they had you. They remember the way you listened when no one else did, the way you encouraged them when they doubted themselves, the way your presence felt safe in a world full of chaos. They start realizing that not everyone gives the kind of energy you did, that not everyone stays when things get heavy, that not everyone loves with the same depth. And that realization cuts deeper than any confrontation ever could. People rarely understand the value of consistency until it's gone. They crave the stability that your presence provided, but were too distracted to honor it. Your absence exposes the difference between attachment and appreciation. Attachment says, I like having you around. Appreciation says, I recognize your worth. When you leave, they finally see the difference. They feel the gap your energy filled. And no matter how many people they meet afterward, none will fit the same way. Because your presence wasn't about the words you said, it was about the feeling you created, and feelings, real ones, can't be replaced. The power of your absence isn't about manipulation, it's about truth. It's about realizing that you were never meant to beg for recognition. You were meant to be valued naturally, without demand. And when that value is ignored, walking away becomes your declaration of worth. You don't have to shout or prove anything. Your silence, your distance, your decision to protect your peace, that's the loudest statement you'll ever make. People often chase attention, thinking that being noticed equals being valued. But what truly lasts isn't attention. It's impact. The attention fades when you're gone, but the impact lingers. When someone's scrolling through their memories and your name suddenly crosses their mind, when they hear a song that once reminded them of you, when they catch themselves smiling at a thought they tried to bury, that's your echo. It's not just nostalgia, it's realization. The realization that what they lost wasn't just a person. It was presence, energy, light, calm, and meaning. Your absence teaches people lessons your presence never could. Because while your presence comforts them, your absence awakens them. It makes them question their actions, their priorities, and their pride. It forces them to feel the weight of what they once had and can never regain. Absence humbles even the most indifferent hearts. It turns silence into reflection, reflection into regret, and regret into appreciation, though often too late. And that's the bittersweet beauty of walking away with grace. You don't slam doors, you don't burn bridges. You simply stop showing up where you're not respected. You stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it. You stop fighting for your place in someone's life who doesn't fight for you. That kind of quiet departure carries more power than 1,000 arguments ever could. It's not revenge, it's realignment. You remove yourself so your value can speak louder in your absence than it ever did in your presence. When your energy is pure, people will always come back to it. Sometimes not to stay, but to remember. They'll remember how peaceful it felt to be understood without judgment, how grounding your words were when the world was too loud, how your loyalty never wavered even when theirs did. Your absence makes them realize that genuine souls are rare, that not everyone has the capacity to love deeply, to care selflessly, to give without expectation. And once they've felt that kind of presence, they'll spend years searching for it again, often in vain. The echo of your absence isn't just emotional, it's spiritual, because when you leave, you take your energy with you, and that energy had weight, it had warmth, it had purpose. The people who underestimated it eventually feel the void of it. They might fill their days with distractions, new faces, temporary pleasures. But deep down, the emptiness remains, because no one else vibrates at your frequency. No one else sees the world through your lens. No one else brings the same peace or the same fire or the same balance you did. You were never just someone. They realize you were the one, and while they're haunted by your absence, you evolve through it. You become stronger, clearer, calmer. You learn that detachment isn't the same as indifference. It's wisdom. You learn to stop giving your energy to people who drain it and start giving it to your growth. You learn that walking away isn't weakness, it's strength disguised as serenity, because the person who can walk away without resentment is the person who's finally learned self-respect. Eventually, your absence becomes your legacy in their life. It changes them. They'll start treating others better because they know how it feels to lose someone like you. They'll speak more softly, love more intentionally, and appreciate more deeply. That's the hidden gift your absence leaves behind. It teaches through loss what presence tried to teach through love. So never fear walking away when your worth goes unseen. Don't chase validation or fight to prove your importance. Let your silence, your peace, and your absence do the talking, because one day when they sit in a room full of people and still feel something missing, when they look for the spark that no one else gives, that's when they'll finally hear the echo of your absence. It won't fade with time. It will remain echoing quietly in the corners of their memory, reminding them that they once had something rare. And let it slip away, and when that realization finally sinks in, it hits harder than any words ever could. They'll look back and see the moments when you stayed, when you listened, when you cared beyond reason. They'll remember your patience, your laughter, your quiet strength that never needed validation. That's when your absence becomes the loudest sound in their world. A constant reminder of the peace they traded for comfort, the love they overlooked while chasing noise. But for you, that silence isn't emptiness, it's freedom. It's the peace that comes from knowing you gave all you could without losing yourself. You no longer chase or explain, you exist in your power, because the ones who truly value your light will never risk losing it, and the ones who didn't were never meant to hold it. Your absence becomes your statement, your closure, your triumph. And one day, when they realize the kind of soul they let slip through their fingers, they'll understand that some presences are too rare to return. You were never meant to stay where you weren't seen. You were meant to walk away and let your silence remind the world that your energy, your love, and your presence were once something extraordinary.